Good afternoon. It is time for our regular lunch and learn. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about inflammation. I'm going to talk to you about how your food contributes to inflammation. Now, inflammation, what is that? Inflammation is the signal that your body gives, your central nervous system gives to your body that you have something in your body that you should not have there. So, inflammation, you may know that when you cut yourself, you bruise yourself, you knock yourself, you're going to get a swollen place on your skin. It could turn red, it could get hard. Those are signs of inflammation. When you eat the wrong thing, when you have a diet full of inflammatory foods, then what happens is that you have inflammation at the cellular level. Inflammation is a way that you know that your immune system is doing what we want your immune system to do, so that's a good thing. But long-term inflammation at the cellular level leads to chronic sickness, leads to autoimmune disease, and of course, it leads to death. So what we want to do today is talk to you about the different kinds of foods that you eat and why maybe you need to be changing your diet. We do a lot with diet. Why is that? Well, because Hippocrates said, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Today, here in the United States, and there are a lot of other countries that are not like us, today in the United States, we have a lot of artificial ingredients in our foods. We have a lot of non-food foods that we eat. And so I don't want to name names, but you guys are smart enough, you can figure it out. We are not supposed to consume non-food foods. We are not supposed to consume denatured foods. Those are foods that have been processed and all of their nutrients have been taken out. So we are not wanting to do that. We're going to have a little bit of a nutritional discussion today because it's important. You've seen this before. This is the ripple effect. When you absorb your food, you have energy to repair, you have health, you have no problems whatsoever. When you have poor absorption, poor digestion, you've got inflammation, toxicity, and all kinds of sickness and disease, which is around right here on the other side. So we don't want to do this. I use this all the time as a visual aid because it's really, really important. This is from our Thrive people. We love Thrive. Now, the reason we do this is because there is a gut-brain connection. If you are eating the traditional standard American diet, look at those letters, SAD, standard American diet, then you are eating quite a bit of inflammatory foods, and we don't want that to happen because we want to keep you free of sickness and disease. As I said earlier, we want an inflammation process when you are hurt. We want an inflammatory process if you get a bug, you get a cold, you get the flu, you get whatever, your body's going to mount an inflammatory response to come against those pathogens. That is a good thing. That is what we want. But when we are eating bad things, when we are eating things that we should not be eating, then that creates long-term chronic inflammation, and it's going to lead us down a wrong road. Now, how do you know if you have chronic inflammation? Well, your triglycerides on your blood work are going to be high, your LDL is going to be high, and your HDL is going to be low. So just as a refresher, your LDL is the so-called bad cholesterol. Really, it's not a bad cholesterol. It shows an inflammatory process. You remove the inflammation, that number will settle down. Your HDL is known as your good cholesterol. You eliminate the inflammatory foods in your diet, and that number will come up. It is an indicator of your liver function. Your liver makes your cholesterol. So when we look at these things the way we are supposed to look at them, we can kind of pinpoint where we are in our food. And so the article that I'm referencing today comes from a husband and wife team, the Sherwoods, Satrwood. They've got a medical practice and they work with people with food. They are best-selling authors. You can Google them, you can look them up. And this was taken from the Epic Times a couple of weeks ago, I think. I'm not quite sure on the date here. The best way to obtain your nutrients is from your food. Yes, we supplement. Why do we supplement? We supplement because the food does not have enough nutritional density to satisfy our needs. This is why we eat a meal and we're still hungry. We're not satiated. Why is that? That's because the brain is telling us that we are missing some key nutrients. So what do we do about that? We take a good multi-mineral, multivitamin, and if we are taking a good one, it's going to provide the antioxidants that we need. It's going to provide the antioxidants, lower inflammatory processes. Now, if you've been watching us, if you've been paying attention to our podcast and that kind of thing, you know that we brought into the clinic this little scanner. Now, why did we do this? Because this scanner, we take the heel of your hand right here and we put it up to that laser light, and that reads the carotenoids that are in your skin. What does that mean? The carotenoids are the colors of the fruits and the vegetables that we eat. And remember, we're supposed to be eating 30 different kinds of fruits and vegetables every week. Now, I don't know who does that, but that's what we are instructed to do. We will be healthy if we do that. You may have heard that you should have a colorful plate. You should eat the rainbow. And that is because the carotenoids are found in the colors of the fruits and vegetables. Now, when your body absorbs those carotenoids, it turns them into antioxidants. Antioxidants in the body close down, hamper down inflammatory processes. It is the inflammatory process that ages us, and nobody wants to get older. Nobody wants to look old and haggard. Nobody wants to be rusting from the inside out. If you are interested in this topic, you're interested in anti-aging, we've got a Facebook group just for you, and it is called Is Poor Nutrition Rusting You from the Inside Out? It's a public group. You can join in on that. We showcase a lot of different products there. Some are just for skin, some are just, for the facade, but they also go into your system and they change the way your body performs. If your body is healthy on the inside, your skin's going to be pretty on the outside, and that's really what we want. A lot of times people are spending tons and tons of dollars with Botox and whatnot, which is introducing pathogens into their skin, which we do not agree with. We just don't. What we want to do is change the gut, change the way we absorb our nutrition so that we're able to produce that pretty healthy skin from the inside out. The scanner that we have will give you a score. It is your carotenoid score, and it will tell you you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, you're not absorbing the fruits and vegetables, you're not supplementing appropriately, you've got too high of a BMI. It tells you things you don't want to hear. The good thing is once you know where you are, then you can do better. And there are products that we have that will absolutely change the way your body performs. It will change your score within 60 to 90 days. Now, a lot of people are eating the trans fats. If you have a traditional American diet, you are eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of packaged foods, and there is a good bit of trans fat in there. Trans fat is an inflammatory process, so we want to get out all of the processed foods, all of the prepared foods, all of the fast foods. We want to get those out of our diet because we want to squash the inflammation. Inflammation leads to heart attacks. Inflammation leads to diabetes. We don't want that. None of us want that. So there are fats that contribute also to inflammation. There are three kinds of fats. There are saturated and unsaturated fats. So do you know the difference? I had to do a little bit of research because all I could have told you before I did this research was that, well, saturated fats are bad, unsaturated fats are good, but I could not have told you exactly why. You may or may not know that meat is considered a saturated fat. This girl is from Texas. I like my Angus beef. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to give up my steak. However, I am going to also have my fruits and vegetables. I'm also going to have my fish at least once a week. Why is that? Because those are the monosaturated fats and they are the polysaturated fats. We're going to talk about that difference in just a little bit. There is they say that saturated fats are bad for you, but there was a 21 study analysis about saturated fats, and they did not find that there was enough evidence to say that saturated fat by itself increases the risk of heart disease. So that's really good for me because I like my meat. However, it's also not a good idea to substitute your saturated fats with carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are all your fruits, all your vegetables, and your grains. There's also there's some other things with dairy too, which we're going to get into that in just a minute. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a balanced diet. We don't want to have things that are inflammatory. What is inflammatory? Dairy products are inflammatory. Why? Because if they are commercial dairy products, they have hormones and antibiotics in there. If you have organic dairy products, then you're not going to have that problem. So make sure that you choose appropriately. I'm not saying no dairy. There are people that say no dairy. What I'm saying is no commercial dairy. That means you want to look for organic. Now, just to be real honest, and nobody's paying me to say this, I eat Stonyfield organic Greek yogurt. That's what I eat. Why do I eat that? Because I like yogurt in the morning. It's an easy breakfast. Everybody should be having breakfast if it's only a juice or a smoothie or a yogurt or some nuts or something. Everybody should be having breakfast of some sort. We don't do a lot of grains. When I do have grains, I make sure that my grains are organic. Now, why is that? Because our grains in this country, the United States of America, are processed with glyphosate. When the industrial farms go to harvest the grain, they spray them not once but twice with glyphosate. What does that mean? That means they are putting the pesticide on the plant. It causes the plant to shrivel. It causes the grain to pop out. That means the farmer gets more yield to the crop, and hallelujah for that. I'm all for everybody, getting the most that they can get. However, the grain goes to the market with that pesticide on it, and so you're getting that in your diet if you do not buy organic. Because of that, because of the inflammation in your small intestine, which is where all of your absorption happens, you've got little hair-like villi that are inside your small intestine. And on all of these surfaces, you can absorb nutrition. When you are eating grains that have been processed with glyphosate, those little hairs are depleted to nothing. You just have little nubs. So are you going to get as much absorption from the nub as you are from the little villi? No, you're not. Medical doctors used to ask if you were gluten intolerant. Now, because of the way we process our grains, they ask to what extent are you gluten intolerant? Because almost everybody is gluten intolerant to an extent. That is different from celiac disease. So people will think that because they're gluten intolerant, they have celiac disease. That is not necessarily true. Celiac disease is a genetic predisposition, whereas gluten intolerance is because of the additives to our food. So we don't want to do that. I do try and get grass-fed beef. I do try and get organic as much as I can. I do not eat pork products because a pig is a scavenger, and you are what you eat. You are what you absorb. And so if something is scavenging and they're eating dead things and they're eating denatured things, that's just not something I want in my body. I'm not saying that's for you, but I'm saying that's for me because I want to be healthy. So we want to have, as a rule, the ratio of saturated to non-saturated fats are 1 to 2 to 1. I know that's 3. So that's 1 unit of saturated fats, 2 units of monosaturated fats, 1 unit of polysaturated fats. So what is the difference? I'm so glad you asked because I know this. Saturated fat means that it is saturated with hydrogen atoms. Who knew? Now you know. So the hydrogen atoms is what makes saturated fat saturated, and apparently that causes inflammatory process in the body. Monosaturated fats means that it has one carbon bond, no hydrogen. The polyunsaturated fats have more than one carbon bond. So that's the difference. So meat, anything that is a fat that is hard at room temperature. Think of a piece of steak. The fat on your steak is hard at room temperature. That is a saturated fat. When you're looking at fish, fish don't have, even oily fish, it does not have a hard surface. It is an unsaturated fat. Hope that makes some sense to you, okay? It says that both monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats can lower the rate of cardiovascular disease and all causes of mortality. These fats also help decrease the bad cholesterol and the triglyceride level. They're collectively referred to as healthy fat. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I don't eat fat because I don't want to be fat. And I certainly understand that. And I don't want you to be fat either. However, your brain is mostly made up of cholesterol. Cholesterol is a fat. Cholesterol is produced by your liver. All of your hormones are made from cholesterol. So if you have a very, very low cholesterol diet, then your liver probably is not making enough cholesterol. If you're not making enough cholesterol, you're not going to have a good hormone balance. Why is that? Because your brain is your survival organ. And so whatever cholesterol you have available is going to go to your brain. At the cellular level, every cell has a cell membrane. That cell membrane is also made up of cholesterol. And so those two things are going to keep you surviving. And so your cholesterol is going to go straight to that. It's not going to go to your hormones, and your hormones are what makes your body function. So it's really, really important to have the right kind of cholesterol and the right levels of cholesterol. Your medical doctors are going to want your cholesterol to be around 100. I've been told that by medical doctors. I do not agree with that for the reasons I just said. A healthy cholesterol number is around 200. Now, before I think it was 1975, all the medical doctors said your cholesterol would be 200, 220, and all that kind of thing. Now, for some reason, they have dropped that number down. It was the Framingham study. That study was never able to be reproduced. And so most of the doctors who are in the know don't listen to that study anymore. However, I think that is still what is taught in med school. And so your doctors are going to want to be giving you cholesterol lowering drugs to get you down closer to 100. I know from dealing with people here in the clinic, when their cholesterol is under 180, they have hormone issues. Men do not have enough testosterone to get an erection, and that is a big deal. And so I will tell them before we go to look at anything hormone related, why don't we work on your liver? Why don't we get your cholesterol balanced? And then we'll see where we need to go. Because if you have the right amount of cholesterol, the right kind of cholesterol, you should make all the hormones that you need. And this is for women too. If women have irregular periods, if they have, things that they're not supposed to be having, if their cholesterol is off, their hormones are going to be off. And so we look at that to see kind of where we want you to be. We want you to minimize your consumption of fast foods, processed foods. We want you to eat an abundance of your fruits and your vegetables, more vegetables than fruit. And we want you to have every color of the rainbow: orange, red, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So look at your plate. Make sure your plate has 3 to 4 different colors on it. And not only is it more appetizing to your eye and it's going to taste better, but it's going to be better for your immune system, because those carotenoids are going to give you the antioxidants. The antioxidants are going to help your immune system. So we need to understand that. Now, extra virgin olive oil is the olive oil that I use in my home. Now, why is that? Number one, it is not solid at room temperature. So that means it is a unsaturated fat, which is one of the healthier fats. I do not use safflower oil or canola oil or any of those oils. Why is that? Because they are genetically modified. I don't use soybean oil. I don't use canola oil. I don't use corn oil because of the genetic modifications on that. So we don't want to do that. You want to strictly avoid margarine. I think almost everybody that watches me and pays attention to their health, they already know that margarine is bad for you. You don't want to have what's in the little, container that looks like butter, but it's not butter. You want to have real butter. Yes, it is a saturated fat. Get the organic kind. It is healthier for you than the hydrogenated fats. What is a hydrogenated fat? It is a fat that has hydrogen added to it. So it's a liquid fat like corn oil, and they add hydrogen to it, and that makes it solid at room temperature. Why do they do that? Because it is cheaper to use. It doesn't go bad. You can use it time and time again. That's why your fast food restaurants use it. And that's why you have trans fats in the fast food. So we don't want to use any hydrogenated oils of any kind. We don't want to have any trans fats of any kind because that's going to make your inflammation go up. If your inflammation goes up, you're going to be a candidate for obesity. We have to talk about that. If you've got a weight issue, it could very well be because of the trans fats that you're eating, the saturated fats that you're eating. Your body's not able to process them, and so they get stuck in your adipose tissue. That's not a good thing. If you have a weight issue, you are twice as likely to become diabetic. If you become diabetic, you're 4 times more likely to become a cancer patient. So we're not trying to do any fat shaming or anything like that. However, your BMI, your body mass index, says a lot about the health of your body. And so what we're talking to you about and why we're doing this research and why we're bringing it to you is we want you to be healthy. We want you to avoid neurodegenerative diseases. What is that? That's Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, all those kind of things. Saturated fat, trans fat, long-term inflammation increase the likelihood that you have that. And we don't want to have that. We want to protect the brain from age-related diseases. A lot of people will think that, well, I'm old, I'm getting older, and so this is in my family, I'm naturally going to get this. I don't subscribe to that viewpoint. I don't think that that is a good viewpoint. I think that our youth should be renewed every day. I think that the foods that we eat should work on our body and do what our body needs to do so that we actually can stop the aging process. Yes, I said stop the aging process. I want to have more birthdays. I don't want to look old. All right. I don't want that. So what do? I modify my diet so that I have a lot of antioxidants. I have a lot of carotenoids in my diet so that it stops the rust on the inside so that my body can behave like it is a much younger version of itself. And so what do we want to do? We want to have a lot of omega-3s in our diet. This is salmon or any other wild caught organic oily fish. That can be sardines that are packed in olive oil. That can be black cod, also known as sablefish or butterfish. Omega-3 fortified eggs. Now, I don't particularly like fortified anything because if you're fortifying something, you're changing it. And so I prefer the free-range, cage-free eggs where the chickens are fed organic. They get the worms, they get whatever they get, right? That gives you a good egg. An egg is a good food. It is the perfect protein. Hemp seeds and flax seeds also are full of omega-3s. Now, you can also take an omega-3 supplement, but this is what I want you to do. If you have that in your home, and most people do have that because we're smart and we're listening to the ads and all that kind of stuff. If you are taking an omega-3, I want you to put it in the freezer overnight. Just take the whole bottle, put it in the freezer overnight. Why is that? When you pull it out the next day, if it's cloudy, if the capsule is cloudy, you can't see through it anymore, it's frosted, that means there's mercury in that fish oil. You don't want to be taking mercury in your fish oil. Why is that? Because mercury is a neurotoxin, and you don't want to do that. We do have a fish oil supplement here in the clinic. It is vacuum pulled twice. They produce this in Canada, and Canada's standards are much, much higher than they are here in the United States. And so that's the fish oil that we use. It also has, I think it's 6-to-1 EPA to DHA, so it's really good for calming down inflammation. It's good for your kids that have ADD, ADHD. It's good if you can't focus. It's good for brain fog. It's that ratio. And most of your American products are going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So these are some things that you need to know. You put your fish oil, first of all, look at the ratio. It's probably a 1-to-1, maybe a 2-to-1 if you've got a really good product. Ours is 6-to-1. All right, so ours is really good. And when you freeze it, it comes out clear. It's not frosted. It's not cloudy. There's no mercury in what we have here. You want to eat, like I said, a variety of fruits and vegetables and mushrooms. Why mushrooms? Because mushrooms are great for your immune system. Mushrooms help enhance your immune system, and that's what we're all about. We want to color the plate. We want to choose organic as much as possible, and then we want to be sure to wash our vegetables. We want to be able to wash our fruit with a vinegar wash to take off any kind of coating, any kind of wax coating if we're not getting organic. And then we want to just make sure that it's really clean. We don't want to use any kind of nastiness because we don't want to do that. So inflammation, coffee is also very inflammatory. I know you don't want to hear that, but I'm just saying. Soda is very inflammatory. So I want to tell you in closing what you need to avoid if you want to avoid inflammation. You want to avoid all grains, all legumes, all pork and pork products, processed foods, all commercial dairy. Now, that is because of the antibiotics and the hormones. If you get organic, you're okay with that. All vegetable oils, saturated and trans fats. Now, remember, olive oil is okay. There are some other oils. Avocado oil is okay. Just be careful what you get. All sugars, all high fructose corn syrup, and all artificial sweeteners. Local honey is acceptable. Now, I know that there are a lot of diabetics out there, and I'm speaking to you if you're listening to me and you're diabetic. Just because it says it's sugar-free does not mean it's okay for you. There are a lot of sweeteners, non-sugar sweeteners that were never meant to be sweeteners. They have industrial uses, and somebody found out by happenstance, by whatever, that it was sweet to eat, and so they started putting it in your food. Your body recognizes it as a sugar, so even though it has 0 calories, that does not mean it is not going to spike your blood sugar. So be very, very careful. If you are a diabetic and you think that you can eat anything that says sugar-free because it's sugar-free, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. I'm working on a class for diabetics that points out some of these myths. So if you are diabetic and you're drinking sugar-free sodas, sugar-free sweets, all that kind of thing, and your blood sugar is spiking, this is why. So just telling you that. Alcohol, soda, and caffeine will raise your inflammation. Fried foods and corn. Why is that? Because corn in this country is almost totally genetically modified. Make sure if you're going to have corn, corn is my favorite vegetable. If you're going to have corn, make sure you get the organic variety. It is out there, but it is hard to find. So that's what we want you to avoid. And so you might be saying, well, Dr. Polly, what is left to eat? I'm so glad you asked. All right, fresh fruits and vegetables, organic, non-GMO. You can have frozen, is preferred to canned. We don't really like a lot of canned vegetables. Grass-fed beef, no hormones, no antibiotics. Wild-caught seafood, wild-caught game, cage-free poultry, no hormones, no antibiotics. Healthy fats from seeds, nuts, olives, avocados, coconut oils, minimal processing, cold or expeller processed, okay, pressed. Organic grass-fed butter and ghee is acceptable. So that's what we want. We want you to drink half your body weight in ounces. Now, why is that? Because the water pushes through the cells and it detoxifies you and it moves the waste. And you will see if you have a weight issue that if you start drinking half your body weight in ounces, it is going to move that, help you reduce your weight, and you'll be needing less water. So that's a good idea. Fresh juice that you can make yourself, or even at the grocery store, they have something called Suja juice. There's other brands out there, but Suja is my favorite. No, I'm not getting paid by them to advertise for them. They taste good. They're in the vegetable fruit area of your supermarket in the frozen refrigerated compartment. There's no preservatives. There's no additives. They're all organic and they're very good. They're very tasty, and you get a lot of fruits and vegetables in that. Natural herbal tea is fine, and then your fruits should be eaten fresh, raw if possible, and as close to their natural state as you can. So let's talk about oatmeal for a minute. Oatmeal is good if it is still cut because it has all of the bran and things still in the cereal. When you have those instant oats, those microwavable oats, all of the bran, all of the fiber is out, and you need fiber to help pull away your excess cholesterol, which leads to inflammation. So fiber is very, very good. Most people don't have fiber in your diet. I think you need about 40 grams of fiber per day in your diet in order to be healthy. I've given you a lot of information. You want to be eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. You want to not be eating the SAD diet, standard American diet. You want to make sure that you limit your saturated fats and have more unsaturated fat so that you're going to avoid degenerative diseases. We're going to halt inflammation. We're going to protect the brain, and you're going to live a long and healthy life. If you want any more information about anti-aging, reach out to me. We've got all kinds of information for you. It is the weekend. Do some self-care. Love on your family. Love on yourself. And I will see you next week. Take care.